Reagan immediately sent the National Guard and a lot of police officers there. So was it hasty or was it necessary? Because this protest, you lost 2 lives, so you send a lot of people in and then they get hurt. But what if you don't, it turns into a riot and more people get hurt?
I believe, is an experience having any political experience before this, it basically was an overreaction, and he sent in these members just out of what he thought was right. And there's another area that Governor Reagan didn't do the best at. So I really think that was a definite overreaction.
I agree. And then a year later, to the date, in an interview where Ronald Reagan was, what was the quote that he said?
Let's go into the, let me just move
Okay. Another part of the big part of the debate was talking about the economic situation in the country, and I was surprised not to hear about the consumer price index. Reagan could have used this for a very strong point. When Carter was elected, consumer price index stood at 4.8, and now it stands at more than 12%, with an increased inflation rate from 7 to 9%. This is something that Reagan could have used to undermine his credibility towards his economic plan, but he didn't decide to talk about that.
I feel as though that was due to the inexperience of an actor as opposed to a presidential candidate.
And a lot of people might see him as an actor, or just kind of acting a role and not really being a president. But that's up to the citizens.
That's true. I wanted to go over, Carter's job numbers. He added more than 200,000 jobs per month, which was more than any other president in history. However, he started his presidency with a 7% unemployment rate, and he ended with a it was about 3 or 4% unemployment rate. His average unemployment rate during his administration was about 6.5. So during that time, 200,000 jobs per month, he did very well, in my opinion.
Yes, but since his unemployment was lower than the national average when he started, but it ended up at the same spot because recently the unemployment has been rising again, and that's a big problem, especially for this re-election coming up.
So at the same time, you have to wonder, was there really anything done?
Well, it seemed to be just stagnant instead of growth.
That's true.
When asked what would Governor Reagan do differently about the Iranian hostage crisis, he responded with, we would negotiate first and then send the military. And I'm curious about how quickly he wants to send the military. Obviously, also up to Congress, unless he decides to just send them. But these hostages were held for a significant amount of time without being handled. So do the citizens look at that as a president not wanting to get in there and save his men, save his citizens that were being held hostage? That just citizens might see that as not a presidential thing to do, to wait that long.
I agree. And also, I wanted to raise a point. It's like they want to do negotiations first and then, but at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, as an American people, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
Are the candidates actually considering the fact that by willingly and opting to first negotiate, are they considering the monopoly effect that could take place by the other terrorist groups who decide, let's go round up some hostages so we can get what we want out of the deal? Just give it back.
Yeah, being the country that does not negotiate with terrorists, that could have been another thing you could see as a weak thing that he did. Because once one does it, who knows how many could do it.
And, looking at it every single day, this was on TV. You would wake up, you would see it all day. They would constantly talk about it. And it hurt Reagan in the long run because he couldn't focus on important issues in his campaign for re-election. He had to deal with the crisis at hand, which was the Iranian hostage crisis. So that's two issues. You either don't negotiate with terrorists, or you have to because of public opinion. And public opinion was dropping frequently at an alarming rate. Every single day it went by that those hostages were still in Iran. So it's a tough decision.
Yeah.
It really is.
Another thing that was not mentioned during the debates that I thought would have been discussed was the oil crisis of people being lined up around the streets, waiting for their gas. They would have to wait for a certain day. This looks terrible for a presidential candidate, being that was what you remembered for what you do, and that does not look good for President Carter for re-election.
And again, I think that inexperience showed, because if Reagan was an experienced politician or an experienced presidential candidate, any candidate would have used that against Carter the first chance they had.
Yep.
But that wasn't mentioned or brought up whatsoever.
And we go over Reagan's answer to a point about the regulations of oil drilling. He mentioned that he wanted to get rid of regulations and heavily decrease them. However, he believes in clean coal and opening up new coal mines, new oil drilling, and he says it'll bring jobs back. But there's a point of environmental concern and also a point of economic, the word I'm trying to go for, yeah, growth. So, you know, getting rid of regulations on oil drilling it's a tough topic, and you have to think that what's the point that you have to care about the environment?
Yeah, what's more benefiting? The jobs that would be made during this process or the environmental damage potentially from this process?
And that is true. But during the course of Reagan's debate, you've also noticed that he advocates to cut a lot of programs and a lot of the regulation that goes along with those programs to keep things running as smoothly as they are. The same as with education, cutting the Department of Education and starting with the charter schools. Okay, so what about when the parents decide and they pick their own school? How are they going to monitor whether or not that school allows the child to come in? It's like, okay, who gets to decide all that? And then how's it going to be paid for if we're cutting taxes?
Yep, I think that's a big problem with minorities when he didn't support, what he said Reagan said he was against discrimination for everyone, but Reagan's also on record opposing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. And him wanting to get rid of the Department of Education could really hurt his voting percentage with minorities, considering his past legislation on that.
We're going to finish up here, but we just wanted to take a quick poll of the audience on what you guys believed and who do you think won the debate. So we're going to start with Governor Reagan. Raise your hands if you thought Governor Reagan did a good job and won the debate. Yeah, we'll just do a quick number, so keep your hands
You
up.
can't put your hand in this. Thank you.
Members of the candidates team cannot vote. Okay, so we got what? We got two here?
We got 2 votes.
All right, we got the kids.
We got 3
Kids
votes.
here.
3 votes.
3 votes, okay.
I believe Carter won.
President Carter.
Okay.
Nice to see overwhelmingly the audience is President Carter. So we will wish President Carter and Governor Reagan a good rest of a few months and just wish them the best.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
30-some years we're going to have Trump and Clinton, right? 30-some.
Yeah. Don't forget to sign in if you're getting extra credit on the sign-in sheet out there. Surveys for the Scholar Citizen Initiative too. And like they said, don't forget next week, same time, same place, Trump lunch debate.